All right, I am calling it. I have found the best all-around comfortable shoe for 2025. For me, it really has not even been remotely close. Before I show you what it is, go down in the comments section and take a guess what you think, like what shoe you think it is. Don't skip ahead a few seconds when I tell you what shoe it is. I'm just dying to know if anybody actually guesses it. All right, put that down in the comments and let's get into them. All right, now we've all locked in our answers. Welcome to the shoe garage set. Figured since we're gonna be cutting these open anyway, might as well bring the party into here. But the shoe that I'm talking about, of course, is the Asics Gel Cumulus 27. Now, I'm sure a lot of you are probably scratching your heads now looking at the top down of them, but give me a few minutes. I'll bet you I will convince you. I first had these on in the desert during the BNP Paribas Open. The first pair of these I got was actually a gift, and then I actually ended up buying a bunch of pairs for myself because I liked them so much. Now, starting off in the uppers, reason I single out being in the desert when I first had them, look at the breathability test on them. Fog just gets out of these like crazy right off the jump. I know when I had these on, I had zero heating whatsoever, and it was getting pretty warm out there. Thing is, you look at them on the microscope, and the weird thing is, it almost looks like a burlap sack under the microscope. The elastic fibers are more on the inside of the shoe, not necessarily on the outside. So what your foot's contacting is all elastic, but on the outside isn't. But then also underneath, you have a gusset here. It's really nice and wide, but it's also really elastic and thin, so it just moves with you really easily. The tongue has enough padding to where there's no lace irritation. The laces themselves are flat and they're pretty soft, so I mean, there's no lace irritation whatsoever. There is a runner's knot in there, so heel slippage can be mild, moderate, or really kind of none, just depending on how you lace the shoe. But I would say the thing I like most about the uppers is if you look at the sides of them, right where the gusset is, they stretch exactly where you need them to, right where your tailor's bunion would be or regular bunion would be. So even if you're getting these shoes maybe like down a half size, which we'll talk about, they're still going to stretch out so nicely. So that really makes these nice for getting them true to size, which we'll talk about in the fit section. But all in all, the uppers incredibly simple, but incredibly effective. All right, beginning of what we all want to see, the midsole teardown. Interestingly enough, these do have a little bit more going on in the midsole than some Asics shoes. Number one, in the heel, you do have what's called pure gel now, which is the same thing, it's silicone gel, but it is just a little bit bigger, and then it's actually kind of like invaginated into the midsole foam here. You can see it, it's almost like Blue Shield in Diadora shoes, where it's got the lugs in here, but that's just so the gel stays stable back there, because the thicker this gel gets, it's so light. The thicker it gets, the more unstable it gets. Then as you get into the rest of the shoe, this is kind of what I think is what's making these shoes more comfortable. It's the FF Blast Plus, and it's the formulation of FF Blast Plus, and these incredibly light, really kind of doughy, just super comfortable. And the last layer of the midsole is the Fluid Ride, which actually creates the outsole, so it's like a flow foam situation from Under Armour. But these three densities just create the most comfortable ride I think I've ever had. Looking at it on the bounce height test, interestingly enough, that gel does dampen these things. I only got 28 centimeters in the rear foot and 33 in the forefoot, which is kind of what we're used to seeing with more responsive EVAs. Remember, FF Blast Plus, it is an EVA blend, right? It's a little softer. This Fluid Ride is also rubberized EVA, so it's kind of the same thing we actually put in the Xenon sandal, the one I helped design. And interestingly enough, they kind of looks like the exact same idea, making the foam a little bit more rubberized EVA to give a little more responsiveness, more comfort, but also more structure. Interestingly enough though, speaking of structure, look at this thing on the tensiometer. It did only take 37 newtons to get this thing to 45 degrees. So here's the thing, they are incredibly flexible shoes too. That kind of comes with the comfort. They're very wide in the forefoot and rear foot in terms of the footprint. But I mean, yeah, you can do a lot to these. They spring back easy enough, but they're definitely not a hyper-structured shoe. We'll talk about that in the fit section. It's not the worst thing in the world because of the shape of them, but don't expect these to be like a New Balance 860 super structured shoe, much more meant for the more comfort aspects. So when you look at all three parts of that midsole, with the deadening in the heel from the Pure Gel, the FF Blast Plus, which is one of the most comfortable foams on the planet, and then you've got the rubberized EVA on the bottom, it's no wonder why these shoes just feel like your foot is just walking in cookie dough in like the best way possible. No, it's not the most bouncy shoe out there. It's much more on the shock absorbing side, but isn't that kind of what makes, you know, a super comfortable shoe? A lot of times shock absorbing shoes, they can be a little bit dense, whereas this one's nice and light. I mean, obviously this shoe's not a super heavy shoe, plus the uppers are nice and light. And so really everything together just produces a really light and airy, but very shock absorbing feeling shoe. If you look at the outsole of the Gel Cumulus 27, it's basically just, like I said, stamped foam. So you have some zigzag patterns there, some linear patterns, more stamped out in the forefoot with some more, you know, rectangular shapes in there. But this thing is incredibly easy to get from stride to stride, whether if you're running or just casually walking. Thing is though, it is foam. So the more you shear them, so the heavier running you do, the more miles you put on them, the more it's definitely gonna break down. In terms of walking, I've had this pair here, you can see, I've had this one for maybe about 6-7 months. And honestly, it doesn't look too bad, but I've also just been wearing them to work. So not terrible, but the one thing I will mention to you, it is full length, and look how wide the rear foot is and the forefoot. So I guess we can just get right into the fit with these. Number one, true length, but then 10.1 centimeters metatarsal width, 10.2 of toe box width. Toe box taper comes in at 38 degrees. Honestly, not terrible considering it's made for a running shoe. That's more typical court shoe. But it's the fact that the heel and the rear foot is so wide, right? And then that kind of, there's not a lot of huge taper that goes into the midfoot. That's what keeps the shoe stable, right? So no, they don't have a shank, but they're meant to be more of a flexible shoe. So let's say if you are a narrow medium foot, you can go true to size. If you want to go down 1/2 size on these things, you can. They might get a little short on you, but they will stretch out, or just go true to size. A 2E, I went true to size a couple times, and I've been just fine. My wife went true to size in hers. She was just fine too. A 4E, if you want to go up 1/2 size, you can, but you can break these in at a 4E in your true size. It might take a minute, but you can break them in. It'd be nice to get them 1-to-1 because they are such light shoes. In terms of, you know, people who can wear these, if you do have more of a flatter foot, you can throw orthotics in these. My wife had a Power Step Pinnacle in these things, and she's had zero problems. She wears these things to work every single day, and she's had no problems as long as there's an orthotic in there. Without the orthotic, she finds them a little bit too flexible. I like them for what they are without it, just because I have a super high arched foot. So for a casual shoe, when I'm just sitting up and down all day, I don't mind it whatsoever. If I was running all the time, I'd probably want something with a shank. I'm not a 4-foot striker. If you are a 4-foot striker and you're running in these, or even midfoot, you're a little bit lighter, more true, you kind of have some structure in your foot to begin with, you can handle it, then that's fine. Then that's what these are made for, right? Just a plush kind of daily trainer. But in terms of just casual, if you want to put an orthotic in them, they will accept them just fine, even bulkier orthotics. Or if you just want to wear them for their comfort underfoot feel, which is what I do, then just wear them for their comfort underfoot feel. Like I said, in terms of running shoes, they're fine for more neutral runners. People, like I said, have a decent stride. You're more of a distal midfoot striker. You can kind of handle this shoe. But in terms of casual wear, I think anybody but a really hypermobile flat foot can wear these just casually because, like I said, because of the width on them, right? You don't necessarily need a shank for a casual shoe, right? But they are wide enough that you're not just flopping everywhere, which is what I love about these. So you get kind of the best parts of like the soft, cushy shoe, but with the width of them, you also get a little bit of stability so you're not just pronating or just straining to kingdom come. So love to hear your thoughts in the comments down below. Love to know what you think the most comfortable shoe of 2025 is. This is what I'm going with, and I have zero problems putting, you know, my stamp of approval behind them, my name behind this pick for the year, but I'd love to know what yours is. And if you want to take a deep dive into some of the shoe technologies or shoe gimmicks, you could call them, that I actually think do a really good job, especially with on-foot comfort, take a look at this video right here. And if you want to see the worst gimmicks out there that I think are not so great in today's shoe technology world, make sure you click into this video right here. I'll see you in the next video.